Okay, let's speak a little bit about the exam. I think presently, if I'm right, it's scheduled for 12th of May, 9:30. Is that right? Okay, everybody's nodding. So please check briefly before the exam once more, not that they changed the room on short notice or something like that. Okay, so let's speak about that. So first of all, on BBL there is a document called marking criteria, which basically also contains all the information we speak about here today, and in addition contains a couple of questions from last year's exam with some answers of students which gave them the full points for that question. So you get a better idea of what the nature of questions might be and what the length of expected answers is. So we have a 19-minute unseen exam which consists of 2 parts, and of course it's planned to roughly split evenly between the 2 parts, but see for yourself how you get along. The first part is multiple choice questions. 50 of them should take roughly half of the exam. And the second part are 6 open questions, which also should take around 45 minutes. Each part then contributes 50% to the final mark. Okay. What is assessed? It's basically everything which is taught in the lecture, and you know that if you missed a lecture you can view it on YouTube, and the Gobet textbooks, Foundations of Cognitive Psychology, and basically all the chapters we have covered in the lecture. If we haven't covered something in the lecture at all, it is not required for the exam. So this once more is the overview of the topics, and I have been asked that already a few times. Yes, introduction and history is relevant as well. Only the key facts and findings. So, and history, as you remember, it was only half of the session. It's not that much and that long anyway. Okay. The executive control bit we did today is not relevant because there's no real chapter for that in the textbook. Okay. Yeah, one further yes. Yeah, that's what I just said, yeah. Okay. And some people say, well, it's only preparing the lecture sufficient, or is it sufficient only to read the textbook? The ones of you who came here and read the textbook will notice that the lecture is extremely heavily based on the textbook. So it's pretty much running in parallel. And so there's no big difference between that, but still both are the reference. So there may be a few things mentioned in the textbook more clearly and longer than here in the lecture and the other way around, but it's both relevant. So the combination of both make up the material you need to learn and to know. Okay, so have a look at a few example questions for the multiple choice part. It may be something like this. What is the instance theory of automaticity? A, the view that automaticity is a transition from a general algorithm used to solve problems to memory retrieval of past solution chunking. The view that learning involves instances. The view that some tasks can become automatic in an instant. Or the view that automaticity requires a great deal of effort and a large number of instances. So when you go back to the lecture of attention, you will see that answer A is the right thing. So generally, the multiple choice questions. You have 4 different options, and they are all rather short. So not much more longer than this. I know that in some exams, one multiple choice question is like half a page. You have to read so many. These are more like very brief and shortly worded. Okay. Another example, who developed the theory of working memory? Like Koslin, Baddeley and Hitch, Shepard and Metzler, Waugh and Norman. And you should know after today that it was Baddeley and Hitch. And we spoke about this before as well. I chose this example to clarify one point about how much do you have to learn like names and years and things. And what I would like you to do is to know the like key figures and persons of some of what we have learned here. I won't ask for years, so there won't be a question like in which year was this theory of working memory developed, and then you have only 1978, 1974 or something like that. And so only of the major theories you need to know the names basically. Usually when the questions are phrased, then there may be a reference to that, to these names. So for instance, an open question might be something like, please explain the working memory theory as proposed by Baddeley and Hitch in 1974 or something like that, so that you get additional information about what is referenced to. But usually when you have like individual studies showing something, you don't need to know the name of the authors or the year or something like that. However, because we cover history as well, as I said, the most important and key people you should know about that. Okay. In the multiple choice part, there is only one correct answer per question. And you may know that. Please fill it out correctly. So really just completely fill out that thing. Don't just tick or cross that, because then our software, this is analyzed by computer software, gets into trouble, and we have to do it manually, that person. As a recommendation, use a pencil so that you can rub out wrong answers. We always have these funny things where people answered something and then, oh no, it's wrong and was a pen. So you work with arrows and write not this, but this one, and things like that. I mean, this is better than nothing, but please bring a rubber and a pencil and do it that way. Okay, if you want to practice, there are online quizzes from the publisher of the textbook, where you can go there. So when you follow that link, you can go there to student edition. It's a little bit hidden actually. And then you can choose a chapter, and then you can pick multiple choice quiz, and then you get these ideas. And for every chapter there are like 20 questions or something, and you can check here. And these questions they chose here, they focus very strongly on also on like names, or in which year did Postman his study on, I don't know what, things like that. As I said, that's by the publisher, so in our exam there won't be that focus on like names and dates, okay? But still it gives you a good idea of the questions you may expect. Okay, now part 2, the open questions. And this can really vary, the nature of the questions can vary. And you may have a question which really asks just for an itemization of things, like, for instance, name 4 different sensory modalities, and an answer maybe just audition, vision, touch, smell. So it could be that quick, actually. So some questions are very short. Others may ask for a brief definition, which can be dealt with one or a few sentences. So for instance, define semantic memory and provide one example. And an answer for this may be definition: semantic memory stores general knowledge about the world, including facts, meanings, and concepts. As an example of semantic memory would be the fact that London is the capital of England. Okay, done with that question already. And they may require a longer response, like, for instance, describe the attenuator model of attention proposed by Treisman. And you may have to write more here in this respect. This is just an example answer. We don't need to go through that. And then you may have even something which is a few paragraphs long, something like describe the attenuator model of attention proposed by Treisman and compare it to the early selection model proposed by Broadbent. And again, this is an example where years and names are provided, but even if you forgot that, you should know the attenuator model and the early selection model, so there should be enough context for you to know what exactly we want to see. However, no question will require the length of a full essay or something. And of course, I am aware of your time limits, so I said there are 6 open questions. It won't be 6 questions of that type, which give you a little bit. It will be a mixture of different length. Okay. You are welcome to, or sometimes you may even be asked, to have a simple drawing or a sketch to illustrate something. On your sheet, which you get with the questions on there, for every question, you will see how many points this question will give you. And the number of points can give you a rough idea of how long the expected answer is. So if one question gives you 15 points and the other one 1 point, it is somewhat self-evident that the 15-point question needs a much longer response and not just an itemization of 4 different things, and the one question thing requires 3 full-blown paragraphs or something. Okay, how does the grading work of the exam? I said every part is 50%, but looking then at that in a bit more detail. So now going back to the first part, the multiple choice question, and this is pretty easy and straightforward. The proportion of correctly answered question directly is transferred into your mark and grade. So we have 50 questions, which make up 50% of the exam. So basically, each question is 1% to the final grade. But let's say you answered 35 out of 50 correctly, then you have answered 70% correct, which is a mark of 70%, and according to the undergraduate student handbook, that translates into an A- grade. Okay, for the open questions, I said for each question you will see the number of points, and the grading works that for every question there is kind of a model answer. There are certain key things where I say, okay, I want to see these things, and if they're in, you get the full number of points for that. So there is usually an unambiguous correct answer. And if some things are missing or incorrect, then it's subtracted. So to give you an example again, when we say name 6 different sensory modalities and you get 1 point for that question, then a model answer may be any set of 6 different modalities here. And the grading scheme, it differs from question to question, but in this example, it may be if you named 5 or 6, you get the whole point. If you named only 4 or less, then you don't get the point. Something like that. It will work. Another example, define semantic memory and provide 1 example. That was the model answer we have seen. So 1 point is given for the correct definition and 1 point is given for a suitable example. So if you only have the definition, you get 1 point. If you only have the example, you get another one. Okay, so, and then when you sum up all possible points you can achieve, you may get, for instance, up to 25 points in the second part. And then again, you just calculate the percentages, because again it's 50%, then 1 point is 2% of the final grade. And you can just calculate, if you get 13 points out of the 25 achievable points, you got 52%, which is a C-, when you look up at these tables in the handbook. Well, and then you just average that. First part was 70%, second part 52%. On average, it's 61%, and when you look that up, it's a B-. That's then your final grade for the exam. Okay, any questions? This is your chance now to ask. Thanks. Yes?
Are you bothered about how we structure our response? For example, if we have like a 6-mark question compared to a 15-mark question, in the 6-mark question could be bullet point our answers, or would you prefer any?
Well, it really depends on the nature of the question. If the question allows by its nature, then you could bullet point that, like this itemization I had, for instance. However, if it's a question where it's really important to show the coherence and logical structure of your argument, then it should be more full text and just a couple of coherent sentences or something like that. But as I said, we have a model answer, and as long as that's given, like in this example with the definition of something, you could have a bullet point, definition, colon, and then write that, and then another bullet point, example, colon, and then write that. That would be fine, for instance, yes. Any other questions? Okay, so really, I would say don't worry too much. If you read and learn the textbook and have another look at the slides or the lectures on YouTube, then you really should be fine. So, yeah. Okay, then, thanks for coming for the whole time. And yeah, maybe see you next year in some module or something, or for the exam then. Okay.